If the Urban Meyer hiring is a cautionary tale, what is it and for whom, Michael Smith?
First of all, let me just tell you how happy I am about this story.
Oh, come on, Michael.
I'm so happy that Urban Meyer's been fired. I woke up so happy this morning until I fired up Madden 22 franchise mode just to fire Urban Meyer again.
Wow.
just for good measure. Okay? just because I'm so happy that this has reached this, which should have been an inevitable conclusion. You asked if it's a cautionary tale for whom. I think it's a cautionary tale for business across the board, for anybody looking for a CEO, because what I don't like is, and this happens every time a college coach fails, as if NFL coordinators don't fail, as if we haven't seen some college coaches come into the NFL and make it. A lot of them come from college. Maybe they gained some NFL experience along the way before becoming a head coach. Others failed at the NFL level for a variety of reasons. Urban Meyer failed for one reason and one reason only, and that was because he lacked character. This was not about coaching acumen. This wasn't about X's and O's or schemes. This was about an arrogant so-and-so thinking that he could talk down to people, even his assistant coaches. Because most people, when they think about college coaches, are like, oh, these players, these are grown men. So are your freaking assistants that you hired. So calling them losers or having the nerve to kick another grown man, he lucky he didn't get his ass kicked by Josh Lambo. Like, who does that at any level? Like, this shouldn't fly in college. And it goes to show you that somebody can be successful and not be a good person. Like, this is one of the most successful coaches in college football history. And if he was doing this throughout his tenure at Bowling Green or Utah or Florida or Ohio State, if this is how he conducted himself, then those programs somehow managed to succeed more in spite of Urban Meyer than because of Urban Meyer. That's what I think Shah Khan underestimated, and frankly, it's what I underestimated. I thought he had enough good sense to humble himself and do exactly what coaches ask their players to do, which is to adjust. Coaching is about adjusting with you first and foremost. And the fact that he refused to adjust his approach at the NFL level, despite not receiving the results, is mind-boggling. If you look at the timeline, and a lot of people have laid it out, of all the stories we've covered with Urban Meyer, most of them have to do with somebody just being a jerk or being arrogant or his ego, not to mention that the team wasn't getting any better. So I don't know that it's a general cautionary tale about staying away from college coaches. I think it's a cautionary tale about making sure you understand the kind of person you're putting in charge of your organization, whether that's in the NFL or anywhere.
I hear you, Michael Smith. And in terms of, I'm shocked by it because, I'll repeat what I said the last hour here again. We at NFL Network, we've had coaches on with us. David Shaw has been a first night mainstay for us from Stanford. And then in the second night, we went through a period of time where we would have another college coach come on. 2016, it was Urban Meyer in Chicago. And that guy who showed up on that set knew everything about every kid that was on that stage, okay? And he was able to, he was engaged, he was locked in, he was knowledgeable about everybody there. I can't believe that guy didn't know when he was asked this week about one of his players, and Andre Sisco, him saying, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he's playing a little bit more, and he had 0 defensive snaps.
Right.
I honestly, I can't compute. Maybe he's just different. He's older, or the losses just, that's to me, like, you want to talk about the character issues. That's one thing. There's also incompetence that I saw.
Correct.
That I couldn't fathom. I just couldn't fathom that.
How about incompetence coupled with indifference? Because maybe it was a money grab all along, and maybe he's something of a front runner. He's won everywhere he's been, and everybody talks about how hard he takes losses. Maybe it's one of those where he just wasn't in a mood to really rebuild. Maybe it was harder than he thought it was going to be. And once he got in and realized, wait a minute, this is actually going to take work, maybe he checked out. I'm with you. How do you go 187-32 with 3 national championships and not be good? Like, I don't even blame Shad Khan for all of the personality flaws, which many people knew, and all the missteps that Urban Meyer had when it came to issues of character. Nonetheless, the dude was one of the most successful coaches in college football history. That's not a bad gamble to make that he can't transition into the NFL. Sometimes it's not that you read the person wrong. Sometimes the person is just not who they have been. You're absolutely right. Maybe he's a different guy than the one who had been successful at all those different stops. Because it wasn't just that. It's the James Robinson situation. It's whether or not Trevor Lawrence can execute a quarterback sneak or not. It's, of course, staying behind. Who stays behind after a loss? Like, even college coaches don't do that.
I don't know. Maybe he did it where he was. Because the bottom line is this, Michael Smith. When you look at an NFL head coaching jobs, okay, to get a 5-year contract, okay, in a state where there is no state income tax, and an owner who is not known as meddlesome by any stretch of the imagination, right? Who has shown patience with Doug Marrone and Gus Bradley before you, okay?
Yeah.
And you're handed one of the most generationally talented quarterbacks as your first selection. You're with another first-round selection to boot, okay? That is truly one of the most plum NFL jobs that I've seen given to anybody in my 18 years with NFL Network and covering this day in and day out.
It was the job in the offseason.
And for this to be the result is still something that it's going to take more than just this show, this day, this week for me to fathom. Can't believe it. Can't believe it.
It seemed intentional.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
I just mean self-sabotage. Like, I mean, okay, if you do something as egregious as stay behind and hang out and get caught on video with a woman that's not your wife in Ohio while your team travels home after a loss.
Winless on the year. Right.
I'm sorry?
Winless on the year still. Yeah.
Right. And live to tell about it. And the owner says, you got to regain our trust. Most committed people would go out of their way to change, to have some kind of self-awareness and to say, hey, you know what? I gotta straighten up and fly right because I'm already on probation. Instead, it's almost as if he tried to one-up himself and dig himself a deeper hole. He just didn't want to be. He just seemed like he didn't want to be there. Not only was he disconnected, he was disinterested in being there, and along the way, just kept doing things. I mean, we can't. I'm sure if we broke down film or got into some of the strategic decisions, there are missteps there as well. But his high-profile missteps strictly come from a place of hubris. And that's why I don't – and I'm glad you mentioned somebody like a David Shaw. I just hope that this doesn't become a conversation about college coaches, because there are a lot of good men coaching college football who have the ability to coach at the next level. Some of them came from the NFL to college. I just don't want this to be some kind of black mark on college football or college football coaches who are excellent teachers. This is strictly an Urban Meyer character issue. This is about him. And, again, whoever he was at Ohio State and Florida, if he was doing stuff like kicking people or kicking kickers and calling them names and calling assistants losers and berating people that way, that's not leadership on any level in any arena.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.